Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Don't forget to subscribe and check out my other socials for more. Enjoy. Over the next few months, they dove into research. They pored over medical journals, watched testimonial videos, and scheduled consultations with several specialists. With each piece of information they gathered, he felt more certain that this was the right path for him. The day of his first surgery arrived sooner than he expected. As he lay on the hospital bed, waiting to be wheeled into the operating room, he felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. His mother sat beside him, holding his hand and offering words of encouragement. "Remember?" she said softly. "This is just the outside catching up with who you've always been on the inside." He squeezed her hand, grateful for her presence. "I love you, Mom." "I love you too, sweetheart. I'll be right here when you wake up." As the anesthesia began to take effect, he closed his eyes, ready to embrace the next step of his journey. The recovery process was challenging, but with each passing day, he could see the changes taking shape. His features softened, becoming more delicate and feminine. As the swelling subsided and the bruises faded, he began to recognize the person he'd always felt he was meant to be. Returning to work after his recovery was a nervous but exciting experience. His coworkers welcomed him back warmly, many complimenting his new appearance. He felt a surge of confidence as he settled back into his role, now feeling like his outer appearance truly matched his inner self. As the months passed, he underwent a few more procedures, each one bringing him closer to his ideal self. With each change, he felt more comfortable and confident in his own skin. His professional life flourished alongside his personal transformation. He excelled in his role as receptionist and secretary, impressing clients with his efficiency and charm. His mother, seeing his dedication and growth, began to give him more responsibilities within the company. One sunny afternoon, about a year after his first surgery, his mother called him into her office. As he entered, he noticed an excited glint in her eye. "I have a surprise for you," she said, gesturing for him to sit down. He settled into the chair, curiosity piqued. "What kind of surprise?" His mother smiled broadly. "Well, as you know, you've been doing an exceptional job here. You've taken on more responsibilities, and you've handled them beautifully. I think it's time we acknowledged that officially." She reached into her desk drawer and pulled out a small box, sliding it across the desk to him. With trembling hands, he opened it, revealing a set of car keys. I don't understand," he said, looking up at his mother in confusion. "It's a company car," she explained. "I think it's time you had one. You've more than earned it." He stared at the keys in disbelief, overwhelmed by the gesture. "Mom, thank you. This is incredible." She came around the desk, pulling him into a tight hug. "You've come so far, sweetheart. I'm so proud of the person you've become, confident, capable, and true to yourself. This is just a small token of recognition for all your hard work." Tears of joy spilled down his cheeks as he hugged his mother back. "I couldn't have done any of this without you," he whispered. She pulled back, cupping his face in her hands. "You did this. You had the courage to be yourself, to pursue your happiness. I just provided the support you deserved." As they walked out to the parking lot together, he felt a profound sense of gratitude and accomplishment. The sleek new car gleamed in the sunlight, a tangible symbol of how far he'd come. Standing there, keys in hand, he took a moment to reflect on his journey. From the timid boy painting his toenails for the first time to the confident woman he was today, every step had been a move towards authenticity and self-acceptance. As he slid into the driver's seat of his new car, adjusting the mirror and smoothing his skirt, he felt a sense of rightness settle over him. This was who he was meant to be, a successful professional, a loving daughter, and most importantly, a person comfortable and confident in their own skin. He started the engine, the purr of it matching the excitement thrumming through his veins. As he pulled out of the parking lot, he couldn't help but smile. The road ahead was open, full of possibilities, and he was ready to embrace whatever came next. The following weeks were a whirlwind of excitement and adjustment. The company car wasn't just a mode of transportation. It was a symbol of his growth, both personal and professional. Each time he slid behind the wheel, smoothing his skirt and checking his makeup in the rearview mirror, he felt a surge of pride and accomplishment. His new role in the company came with increased responsibilities. He found himself attending client meetings, coordinating larger projects, and even representing the company at local business events. At first, the prospect was daunting, but he soon discovered that he thrived in these situations. His natural charm and newly developed confidence shone through, impressing clients and colleagues alike. One particularly memorable event was a charity gala hosted by the local Chamber of Commerce. As he stepped out of his car, smoothing down his elegant evening gown, he caught sight of his reflection in the polished surface of a nearby car. The person staring back at him was poised, confident, and radiantly feminine. For a moment, he marveled at how far he'd come. Inside the gala, he mingled effortlessly, discussing business with seasoned professionals and charming potential clients. As he sipped champagne and navigated the crowd, he overheard snippets of conversation. "Who's that lovely young woman with the printing company? She's so poised and well-spoken. They're lucky to have her." Each compliment, each successful interaction reinforced his sense of belonging. This was his world now, and he was thriving in it. As the evening wore on, he found himself in conversation with the owner of a large local corporation. The man was impressed by his knowledge of the printing industry and his articulate manner. "You know," the man said, leaning in conspiratorially, "we've been looking for a new printing partner for our marketing materials. Why don't you come by my office next week? I'd love to discuss the possibility of working together." He felt a thrill of excitement. This could be a huge opportunity for the company. "I'd be delighted," he replied, already mentally preparing for the meeting. When he relayed the news to his mother the next day, she was overjoyed. "This is exactly why I wanted you to attend these events," she said, pulling him into a hug. "You have a natural talent for this. I'm so proud of you." Her words filled him with warmth. There had been a time when he'd doubted he'd ever find his place in the world. Now he was not only finding it, but excelling in it. The meeting with the corporation went even better than expected. His thorough preparation, combined with his natural charm and deep understanding of the business, won them over. By the end of the meeting, they had agreed to a significant contract that would boost the company's profits considerably. As he drove back to the office, he couldn't contain his excitement. This was more than just a business victory. It was personal validation. He had secured this deal as his true self, embracing both his professional skills and his feminine identity. His mother was ecstatic when he shared the news. "This calls for a celebration," she declared. "Let's close up early and go out to dinner." That evening, as they sat in an upscale restaurant, his mother raised her glass in a toast. "To you," she said, her eyes shining with pride. "To your bravery, your hard work, and your success." He clinked his glass against hers, feeling a lump form in his throat. "And to you," he added softly, "for always supporting me, for helping me become who I am." As they enjoyed their meal, they reminisced about the journey that had brought them to this point. They laughed about his first clumsy attempts at applying makeup, the nervousness of his first day at work in a skirt, the challenges and triumphs along the way. "You know," his mother said, her voice taking on a more serious tone, "I always knew you were special. But watching you grow into yourself, seeing you become this confident, successful woman, it's been the joy of my life." Tears pricked at his eyes, threatening to ruin his carefully applied mascara. "I couldn't have done it without you," he said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. She shook her head, smiling. "You had it in you all along. I just provided the space for you to discover it." As they finished their dessert, his mother's expression turned thoughtful. "Have you given any more thought to making your transition legal?" she asked. Changing your name and gender marker on your documents? He paused, considering. It was something he'd been thinking about more and more lately. I have, he admitted. I think I'm ready. His mother nodded, a soft smile on her face. I thought you might be. I've done some research, and I think I know how we can get the process started. The next few months were a flurry of paperwork, appointments, and legal proceedings. Changing his name and gender marker was a complex process, but with his mother's support and the help of a skilled lawyer, they navigated it successfully. The day he received his new driver's license with his chosen name and F under gender was one of the most emotional of his life. Staring at the small plastic card, he felt a sense of completion. This was the final piece falling into place, the official recognition of who he'd always been inside. His mother threw a small party to celebrate, inviting close family friends and supportive colleagues. As he stood in the center of the room, surrounded by people who loved and accepted him, he felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. One of his aunts approached him, pulling him into a warm hug. You know, she said, her voice thick with emotion, I always felt like I had a niece. I'm so happy to finally meet her. Her words touched him deeply. This was what acceptance felt like, what it meant to be seen and loved for who you truly are. As the party wound down, he found a quiet moment alone with his mother. They stood on the back porch, looking out at the setting sun painting the sky in brilliant hues of pink and orange. How do you feel? His mother asked softly. He took a deep breath, considering the question. I feel whole, he said finally. Like I've finally become the person I was always meant to be. His mother wrapped an arm around his shoulders, pulling him close. You've always been that person, sweetheart. You just needed time to let her shine through. As they stood there, watching the sun dip below the horizon, he reflected on his journey. From the scared, confused boy painting his toenails for the first time to the confident, successful woman he was today. Every step, every challenge, every triumph had led him to this moment. As the last rays of sunlight faded, giving way to the soft glow of twilight, he turned to his mother. Thank you, he said simply, pouring all his love and gratitude into those 2 words. She smiled, her eyes shining with unshed tears. No, my darling girl, thank you for being brave enough to be yourself. You've taught me more about love and acceptance than I ever could have imagined. As the weeks passed, she settled into her new identity, both legally and emotionally. Her confidence continued to grow, and she found herself taking on even more responsibilities at work. The success of the recent contract had opened new doors, and she was eager to explore them. One morning, as she was preparing for a client meeting, her mother knocked on her office door. Come in, she called, adjusting her blouse and smoothing her hair. Her mother entered, a mysterious smile playing on her lips. I have some news, she said, settling into the chair across from the desk. She raised an eyebrow, intrigued. Good news, I hope. Very good news, her mother confirmed. You remember that business conference in New York I was planning to attend next month? She nodded. It was a major industry event that her mother had been excited about for weeks. Well, her mother continued, I've been thinking. You've been doing so well here, taking on more responsibilities, bringing in new clients. I think it's time for you to represent our company at the conference. Her eyes widened in surprise. Me? But are you sure? This is such an important event. Her mother reached across the desk, clasping her hand. I'm absolutely sure you're ready for this. You know the business inside and out, and you have a natural talent for networking. This is your chance to shine on a bigger stage. A mix of excitement and nervousness bubbled up inside her. I don't know what to say. Thank you for trusting me with this. You've earned it, her mother said firmly. Now, let's start planning. We need to get you some new outfits for the conference, and we should review our latest projections and strategies. The next few weeks flew by in a whirlwind of preparation. she threw herself into researching the latest industry trends, practicing her networking skills, and selecting the perfect professional wardrobe for the conference. The night before her flight to New York, she stood in front of her closet, carefully packing her suitcase. Each item she folded represented a piece of her journey. The silk blouse she'd worn to her first client meeting, the pencil skirt that made her feel powerful and feminine, the delicate jewelry that added a touch of elegance to her outfits. As she zipped up the suitcase, her mother appeared in the doorway. "All packed?" She nodded, a mixture of excitement and nerves fluttering in her stomach. "I think so. I just hope I'm ready for this." Her mother crossed the room, pulling her into a warm embrace. "You are more than ready. You're going to do amazing things in New York. I just know it." The next morning, as she boarded the plane, she felt a sense of anticipation. This wasn't just a business trip. It was a new chapter in her life, a chance to prove herself on a larger stage. As the plane took off, she gazed out the window at the receding landscape. She thought about how far she'd come, from the confused young person struggling to find their place in the world to the confident woman she was today. A smile played on her lips as she settled back in her seat, ready for whatever adventures New York had in store for her. The flight passed quickly, filled with last-minute review of conference schedules and company data. Before she knew it, she was stepping out of a taxi onto the bustling streets of New York City, the towering skyscrapers seeming to welcome her. Her hotel was a sleek, modern building in the heart of Midtown. As she checked in, the receptionist smiled warmly. "Welcome to New York, ma'am. I hope you enjoy your stay with us." The words "ma'am" sent a small thrill through her. It was a simple thing, but it reinforced the rightness of her journey, the person she had become. After freshening up in her room, she decided to take a walk to familiarize herself with the area. The city pulsed with energy, a far cry from the quiet streets of her hometown. As she navigated the crowded sidewalks, she felt a surge of excitement. This was where she belonged, in the heart of the action, ready to make her mark. The conference began the next morning, and she found herself swept up in a whirlwind of seminars, networking events, and industry discussions. Her natural charm and deep knowledge of the printing industry served her well, and she soon found herself engaged in stimulating conversations with industry leaders from around the country. During a coffee break on the second day, she struck up a conversation with a woman who introduced herself as Catherine, the CEO of a major publishing house. "I couldn't help but notice your insightful questions during the last panel," Catherine said, sipping her latte. "You clearly have a strong grasp of where the industry is heading." She felt a flush of pride at the compliment. "Thank you. I'm passionate about staying ahead of the curve, especially when it comes to integrating new technologies into traditional printing methods." Catherine nodded approvingly. "That's exactly the kind of forward thinking we need in this industry. Tell me, have you ever considered expanding your role beyond your family's company?" The question caught her off guard. I haven't really thought about it," she admitted. "I've been focused on growing our business." Catherine pulled out a business card, pressing it into her hand. "Well, if you ever do consider it, give me a call. We're always looking for fresh talent and new perspectives." As Catherine walked away, she stared at the card in her hand, a world of possibilities suddenly opening up before her. It was a validation of how far she'd come, a recognition of her skills and potential that went beyond her family connections. That evening, as she prepared for the conference gala, her mind was still whirling with the implications of Catherine's offer. She slipped into the elegant evening gown she'd chosen for the event, a deep blue number that made her feel like a movie star. As she applied her makeup, she studied her reflection in the mirror. The face looking back at her was confident, poised, ready to take on the world. She thought about how far she'd come, from the timid boy afraid to express himself to the woman she was today, successful, respected, and most importantly, true to herself. The gala was a glittering affair, filled with the who's who of the printing and publishing world. As she mingled, sipping champagne and engaging in witty banter, she felt completely in her element. This was where she belonged, among these movers and shakers, ready to make her own mark on the industry. As the night wore on, she found herself in conversation with a handsome executive from a West Coast firm. His eyes sparkled with interest as they discussed the future of digital printing, and she felt a flutter of attraction. "You know," he said, leaning in slightly, "there's a great little jazz club not far from here. Would you be interested in continuing our conversation there? I'd love to hear more about your ideas for integrating AI into the printing process." She hesitated for a moment, surprised by the invitation. It had been a long time since she'd considered dating, too focused on her transition and career to think about romance. But something about this man intrigued her. "I'd like that," she found herself saying, a smile playing on her lips. As they left the gala together, stepping out into the cool New York night, she felt a sense of excitement and possibility. This trip was turning out to be about more than just business. It was about opening herself up to new experiences, new connections, new aspects of herself she hadn't yet explored. Walking down the bustling New York street, her heels clicking on the pavement and the city lights reflecting in her eyes, she felt truly alive. Whatever came next, in her career, in her personal life, she was ready for it. She was finally truly herself, and the world was full of possibilities. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out my other socials if you want more wonderful content, early access, behind the scenes, and more. All links down below.